Over the last few days, we've uncovered evidence of a sill here, and this is where the lock gates would have rested on. You can also see a wooden buffer on the front of the sill, and there's also a wooden buffer on the back of the sill. On the walls here, we've uncovered a water. What's it? Sorry,
Sluice.
We've uncovered a water sluice, which we're quite sure that there may be a drain-off point in it, which has just not been uncovered yet. It's not the strongest structure in the world, it's a single brick structure, and maybe before the morning's out we might have discovered what else it's linked to. On the other side is a drain-off sluice as well, which we're still uncovering, and we'll let you know later in the day what that becomes.
Okay. Right, well, we're here on the lower set of 3 locks at Nob End, and over the last week or so we've had a number of diggers and dumpers on site, and we've dug out most of what remains of the lower 3 locks. And we're standing here at the top of the 4th lock down. This is a staircase of 3 locks, and this is the top end of the top lock, right next to the basin, which is on my left, and the lock is on my right. And I'm standing on what remains of the sill, which is the very bottom of the structure of the top gates. And here you've got very well preserved the stone structure, which would have held the gates in place. So the gates would have closed against wooden beams that were set into the stonework. So there's an amazing amount of stonework here, and the beams would have been set in it, screwed in, bolted in, and then also fixed with tar, which some of the tar still remains, and now we've uncovered it, it's melting in the sunlight, which is quite interesting. And all this has been covered up since the 1950s, when it was all infilled, and these locks haven't been used since 1936, when the breach happened just upstream and stopped the water supply to the locks. So it's an amazing structure. It's a nice bit of archaeology to find at the bottom of the locks. We weren't really anticipating coming this far down, but of course with the bottom locks having been robbed for stone in the 1950s, then there's less left, so we've come lower down to find what does actually remain. So we look at the locks as a whole. I'm looking up to my left, the top 3 locks are almost totally intact, and the bottom 3 locks down here, one side half robbed, the other side almost entirely disappeared down to the very foundation. So where I'm standing now, you have to imagine this is where the top gates were, and if in the olden days I'd just stepped to here, I would have fallen 10 feet into water, because this is the drop into the top lock here, and then it's a staircase lock, so you go from this lock straight into the second lock down, straight into the 3rd lock, and then into the pound at the bottom, turn left, and you're off to Manchester and Salford.
Well, would you look at this? This is quite amazing. So as I've had people talk about, this is the sill, so it's all been beautifully cleaned up. In fact, there's even still good tar in here. This would have been used, there would have been great big blocks of timber in here, secured by these posts that have unfortunately been bent, and the tar would seal them in. They would act almost like the rubber seals they have on car doors to stop the water, stop water wastage from the locks. You'll never ever actually stop all the water. So as you can see, now this is really quite cool. I'm not quite brave enough to go under properly, but underneath here, I'm not crawling all the way through, I'm not that brave, is the sluice. But it goes all the way around, and then over here, that's where the water drops down, but it's completely infilled. We're not going to dig that out just yet because it'd be dangerous. But right here, this will drop down a good about 10 or 12 feet down underneath my feet. That's all infilled with rubble and clay, nightmare to deal with. Over here, up there, a lot of the vegetation's been cleared, so now people can get a nice clear view of all the locks, and it should stop other things growing back up so people can see what we've done. We've also exposed all the nice brickwork on that far side so they can be repointed. Now if you come along down here, this is what's impressive. We're now standing in the colossal lock chambers. So this is technically lock, well, if we number it from bottom to top, lock 4, there you go. It's quite funny because it's also technically lock 14, because it's 17 at the top. That's actually how they're properly numbered. As you can see, they're pretty big, so that far wall's a lot worse shape. You can see where the stonework has been nicked up to, whereas on this side there's more surviving stone. They took it from this side first rather than this side, which kind of makes sense. As we come further down, another one of the locks makes sense. So this is how long the locks actually are. They're pretty impressive. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I'll put it on the screen about how long the locks actually are. There's the actual lock, and over there is the other, where the other lock gate would be, but obviously the stonework's missing. It's really annoying. Luckily, all the sluices of these locks are intact, but they're all infilled. We pass under where the sill would be, but it's much deeper down. And as you can see, this starts to make sense about how deep the locks actually are. And I'm still 10 feet, about 10 feet above the actual, no, even deeper than that, maybe 15 feet down is the bottom of the locks. These are 20 feet high, roughly. As we come down here, it starts to get a bit more boggy, but as you can see, a lot of the top of the bottom lock has been cleared out. In fact, for the first time in decades, you can see the bottom pound from the top with ease. It gets a bit boggier here, which is supposed to be a good thing. It shows that the locks are still pretty watertight. There's another sluice, so that shows you how deep they are. Now that allowed water to escape from the lock when you were filling and emptying it. And right there, the other lock chamber and the bottom pound. So that gives you a sense of scale as just to how big this whole thing is. They are 15 feet wide, 10-foot falls on each, and an average of 20 feet high walls. Pretty impressive. Now that's going to be it for me today, as we're going to split it up into the different days. But tomorrow is going to be the last day of the big dig, so it's going to be all hands on deck, tidy up the site, make sure it's all safe, secure the site, and hopefully put up signs to make sure that no idiot comes on here and hurts himself. So, thank you very much for watching, and we shall see you tomorrow. Welcome back to the final work party of the big dig. So, we've got a lot of work we've got to finally finish off. So, one of the things we're doing, scrub bashing. Making sure to clear the site of all this stuff, make sure it's all piled up so we can get rid of it at a later date, make sure it's all gone nicely and clean so you can seal on. We've also had to dig a scrape back on that far side, make sure that no plant growth comes back up like Himalayan balsam. We're going to spread some wildflowers and grass on there. That should discourage any other major growth. As you can see down there, the digger's currently just neatening up everything else now. We're not doing as much digging out as we are neatening up the site now on the last day. We've dug out all that we're going to dig out for now. So digger's down there. We've also got some other volunteers, Dean, Manny and everyone else. We're all digging out, clearing out the sides of these locks, making sure that they're nice and clean, nice and dry, so that we can actually see the structure of the locks. They've been dug out a lot. We've also got good old Steve up there who's working on the digger. So, got a lot of work to do, yeah. Still lots to do, but it's we're just tidying up the site now for the final bit of work. So, got plenty to do, so let's get to it. Right, so one of the things that we're doing now when we're scrub bashing is clearing these. Now these are the actual, where the locks would be, so the actual lock gate would be there, balance beam would come across here, and it would swing between here, that's why it's nicely cobbled. Something that I thought I'd quite show you, because I've never paid attention to it. Now call it what you will, the dunny, the bog, the throne room, that's the toilet. So because of the lock house here, if you have a look, that lock house there, it was an old building, it didn't have an indoor toilet. So later on, it would have been like just chamber pots and stuff like that. Later on, they upgraded to an outdoor toilet, a water closet. And this is what's left of it. Now, we've saved these bricks because we'd like to rebuild it just to have a bit of amusement on site. You know, the outdoor toilet in one of these wonderful areas, as you do. So just clearing it out now. Now, there isn't a sewer there. It would have been one of those toilets where it flowed into a tub outside and then the council came and collected it. Lovely. So we're just going to have it there, just as a feature of site. We rebuild it, we could use it to store stuff, and that's about it. So we're just clearing out all this stuff now. We've got Jean and Dean working on there. My mum, who's holding the camera, has also been working very hard on this. So we've got lots of stuff still to do. We're not going to clear out where the actual lock house is, although I'd love to, but we've just not got the time. And there is also totally not a dumper stuck in the locks. So, it's been quite busy on site, as you can see. My mum, Sue, Jean and Dean have cleared all of this off and cleared off the area where the stone steps are. Those steps will be going in, fingers crossed, next work party. The next couple of work parties we're going to be showing up all the brickwork along here. There's a lot of stuff to do. Now we've exposed it, it needs that protective work. My kind of little job the entire time has been to do this, excavating the dunny. And if you have a look now, you can see there's one steps here, door there, there'll be a wall carried on there around, and a sloped roof made of slate. That's all gone. Here's the bricks from it. There's actually about half the bricks still there. There's way more in there, but at the moment, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to pile these bricks up here, keep them nice and safe. Of course, this study being used for blockhouse, which obviously you can see the last remaining wall there. In fact, this area in front of it was the gardens. How lovely. So there's a lot of work still to do. As you can see, both these diggers are finally scraping everything off. So hopefully at the end of the day, the site will look a lot better. Well, we've come to the end of the big dig, and what a wonderful event it has been. So I've really enjoyed it, everybody else has really enjoyed it. So the main and obvious point, if you have a look over there, the locks have been dug out, as well as the middle pound. We've taken about, I'd say about 3 feet an average out of the middle pound, and the actual locks have been taken out all the way down. For the first time you can actually see the water, which is something that is truly impressive, and we now know where all of the lock gates were. We know all the distances now. Somebody's making an awful lot of noise up there. So the site looks an awful lot better. We of course uncovered that sill and the sluices. We've uncovered a lot of the history of the area. All the brickwork is something truly special, because when you're around and you see them being dug out, you can actually see them almost creep out of the ground at you. It's something amazing. Also, we've cleaned out all the cobbles, all the growth that's cropped up there. This has all been scrubbed, bashed and piled up. It's all been taken away. It's been chipped down over there to stop the plank growth. It may look like a mess now, but in future work parties we plan to seed it with wildflowers and grass and everything, and I tell you what, the place will look lovely. But that's it for us. We're finished off now, so we're going to be all naffing off home, and that'll be us for the next month. So we'll be back here in October. Hope I'll put the date on screen, and what we're going to do is we're going to be doing a lot of the repointing work on site, and we're going to be doing a lot of the cleaning up on site, redoing all the brickwork that we've exposed and shoring everything up. A lot of work to do. So we shall see you guys next time.